A storm has entered the palace. Ebony's family has taken a desperate, dangerous step by summoning a powerful native doctor, Baba Bambushe, before the most feared ancient council in the land, the Igbimo Abada. They are claiming Ebony is a victim of a spiritual remote control that has bent the entire palace to this man's will. Step into the royal courts of Crown Gist. If you want the truth behind the crown, you are home. Subscribe now and join the inner circle for the deepest updates you won't find anywhere else. A quick prayer for you. May every hidden manipulation trying to control your life be exposed and destroyed by the light of truth. Amen. Please note, out of our deep respect for the sacred Yoruba culture, we use fictional names for certain rituals and titles. Stay with us, and the mystery will become crystal clear as the story unfolds. My Crown Gist friends and families, the air in Ife is currently vibrating with a frequency that spells one thing: danger. We are watching a drama so deep that even the palace walls seem to be sweating. The family of Ebony has decided to play their final card, and it is a move that has left the entire kingdom in shock. They have officially summoned Baba Bambushe before the Igbimo Abada. Now, if you understand the weight of that name, Igbimo Abada, you know this is not a meeting for tea and bread. This is the highest spiritual and legal authority in the ancient world, a council that stands outside the reach of modern politics and even the daily administration of the Oba. To understand why this is causing so much wahala, you must first understand who these elders are. The Igbimo Abada are the custodians of the silent law. While the Oba, our great lion, sits on the throne as the political and spiritual head, these elders are the ones who safeguard the very fabric of the bloodline. Their power is not appointed, it is hereditary, it is etched into their DNA. There are no elections here. If a lineage that holds a seat in this council fails, that seat remains vacant forever. They represent the earth, the ancestors, and the consequences of every action taken within the sacred walls of Ife. When they meet, the world holds its breath because their word is final. Not even the Kabiyesi can say no once they have spoken. So why has Ebony's family brought Baba Bambushe to this high court? The accusation is heavy. They are saying that Baba Bambushe has used his spiritual grip to bend the palace. They are claiming that every erratic behavior, every act of rebellion, and every bit of confusion Ebony has caused was not actually Ebony herself. They are painting a picture of a woman who is under a heavy spiritual spell, a woman whose head has been turned by a man who wanted to rule the palace from the shadows without ever sitting on a throne. They are calling him the hidden king who has been using Ebony as his mouthpiece. My Crown Gist friends and families, imagine the intensity of this moment. Ebony, who many have blamed for the constant fiction with the jewel, Queen Naomi, is now being presented as a victim. Her family is arguing that Baba Bambushe fed her spiritual food, a mix of lies, false visions, and unrealistic expectations that made her believe that she was in a life or death competition with the jewel. They claim he manipulated her into believing that her only path to survival was to conquer the jewel and stand as the sole power behind the great lion. This conquest mindset is what has turned the palace into a battlefield for so long. The Igbimo Abada are now looking into the deep history of this relationship. They are investigating if Baba Bambushe truly used ancient tabs and forbidden rituals to influence the royal household. The suspense is unbearable, because if the council finds this to be true, Baba Bambushe will face a forgotten punishment, the kind that history books are too afraid to write down. But there is a second possibility that is even more terrifying. What if the council discovers that this is all a lie? What if they find that Ebony's family is simply trying to find a scapegoat because the great lion and the people of Ife are finally fed up with her behavior? The council elders sit in silence, between 13 and 27 of them, faces hidden by tradition, listening to every word. Outside, the youth are restless, and the Ife elders are whispering in corners. The great lion himself is watching closely, knowing that whatever this council decides will change the structure of his palace forever. The family of Ebony is sweating, hoping that by sacrificing the native doctor, they can wash Ebony clean and keep her in her royal position. But you cannot play games with the Ibimo Abada. They see through the flesh into the spirit. They know who planted the seed of discord, and they know who watered it. As this investigation expands, more secrets are leaking out. We are hearing about night meetings, secret sacrifices at the stream, and one-sided stories meant to poison the mind of the Oba against his own people. The drama is no longer just about who stays in the palace. It is about whether the throne can be manipulated by those outside the bloodline. The stakes are at an all-time high, and the soul of the kingdom is hanging in the balance.
Inside the chamber of the Ibimo Abada, the atmosphere was colder than a grave. You have to understand that when Baba Bambushe was brought before these elders, it wasn't a physical struggle. It was a spiritual heavyweight match. These elders represent the memory of the land. They started by questioning the very first day Ebony stepped into the palace. They asked, who opened the door? Who brought the sand from the crossroads? They were looking for the exact moment the Wahala started. The family of Ebony, led by their senior members, began to recount how their daughter changed. They claimed that before she met Baba Bambushe, she was a different person. But the moment this native doctor gained her ear, she stopped listening to the council and even the Oba. They described a spiritual cage that the man had built around her. They said he told her that the jewel, Queen Naomi, was using white powers to take her place and that the only way to survive was to strike first and strike hard. This is the manipulation that turned Ebony into a lioness of opposition. But the suspense really peaked when one of the elders from the lineage of Sanction spoke. He asked a question that made everyone's heart skip. If a woman is fed poison food, does she not smell the rot? If she is under a spell, why does she only rebel when it favors her own pride? This question was like a dagger. It suggested that the council might not be buying the victim's story. They began to investigate the food incident, not just the physical food, but the spiritual diet Ebony had been consuming for years. They revealed that Baba Bambushe didn't just work alone. He was connected to the Ife elders who wanted to control the great lion. By using Ebony as a distraction, they could keep the Oba busy with domestic wars while they handled the affairs of the kingdom behind his back. It was a master plan. Ebony was the chaos agent. Every time she fought the jewel, every time she questioned the Kabiesi, she was creating a smokescreen. And who was the architect? Baba Bambushe. The man himself, Baba Bambushe, stood there in the middle of the circle. He didn't look like a man who was afraid. He looked like a man who knew secrets that could burn down the whole palace. He started to speak in riddles, telling the council that he only gave Ebony what her heart was already craving. He said, "You cannot plant a tree where there is no soil. I only provided the seeds, she provided the ground." This statement sent shockwaves through the room. He was essentially saying that Ebony wasn't a puppet, but a willing partner. My Crown G's friends and families, imagine the betrayer. Ebony's family is trying to save her by blaming the man, but the man is turning around to say she wanted the power just as much as he did. The investigation started to turn toward the sacred bloodline membership of the council itself. They began to check if any of the people sitting in judgments were secretly on Baba Bambushe's payroll. This is where the real danger lies. If the High Court itself is compromised, then the Great Lion is truly alone. The council ordered a spiritual audit in the palace chambers. They sent the custodians of silence to walk through the rooms Ebony occupies. They were looking for anchors, small objects hidden in the walls or under the floors that hold the grip of the native doctor. As they said, they found things that made even the bravest warriors tremble. They found names tied with black thread, symbols of the Ogunjai lineage being stepped upon, and charms designed to make the great lion see red every time he looked at the jewel. The intensity in the fair is now at a breaking point. The youth are gathering at the gates, demanding to know what the elders have found. They want to know if their king is being manipulated or if the woman they call their queen is the one leading the charge against the throne. The family of Ebony is now panicking. Their plan to blame Baba Bambushe is backfiring because the man is ready to take everyone down with him. He threatened to reveal the names of every palace official who ever came to him for protection or promotion. This is no longer a palace drama. It is a total collapse of trust. The Ibimo Abada are now faced with a choice. Do they expose everyone and risk the stability of the kingdom? Or do they find a way to cut out the cancer quietly? The great lion is waiting in his inner court, his sword of authority by his side. He knows that once the council finishes their work, someone's head will figuratively or spiritually roll.
The atmosphere shifted from cold to explosive when Baba Bambushe finally broke his silence before the Ibimo Abada. He didn't just stand there, he started naming names. He looked at the IFE elders, the very ones who usually sit in high places and act like they are holy, and he told them to their faces, "Why are you looking at me like a stranger? Did you not bring the oil? Did you not provide the sacrificial birds?" The room went dead silent. He revealed that his grip on the palace wasn't a solo mission. He claimed he was hired to make sure Ebony remained the most powerful voice in the great lion's ear, so that certain contracts and certain powers would stay within their circle. The suspense moved from Ebony to the very foundation of the IFE leadership. Baba Bambushe explained that the Idigbo Konle tree, that spiritual anchor we've been talking about, wasn't just planted for Ebony's sake. It was a palace remote control. He claimed that as long as that tree stayed alive in the spirit, the great lion would always feel confused, the jewel, Queen Naomi, would always feel like an outsider, and the IFE elders would keep their fat pockets and their hidden influence. He told the council that Ebony was simply the vessel they used because her ambition was large enough to house such a heavy spirit. My Crown Gist friends and families, can you imagine the betrayal? Ebony's family, who brought the man there to blame him, started shaking. They realized that Baba Bambushe wasn't going down alone. He described how he fed Ebony with visions of grandeur, making her believe that she was the reincarnation of a great ancient queen who must crush all rivals. This is why her hatred for the jewel was so intense. It wasn't just jealousy, it was a spiritual instruction she believed was her destiny. He said he manipulated her emotions so deeply that she began to see the great lion not as her husband, but a prize to be guarded and controlled. The council of the Ibimo Abada then did something remarkable. They called for the staff of truth. They told Baba Bambushe that if he was lying, his voice would leave him forever at that very moment. But the man didn't stop. He went further to reveal that Ebony herself used to come to him in the middle of the night, disguised as a commoner, to ask for more fire to use against her co-wives. He claimed she wanted to be the only sun in the palace sky, and she was willing to pay any spiritual price to achieve it. The intensity reached a boiling point when the elders asked about the jewel, Queen Naomi. Baba Bambushe laughed, a dry, scary laugh. He said, "The jewel is protected by a light that my darkness could not touch. So I told Ebony to use human war since spiritual war was failing." This explains why we saw so much public drama, social media attacks, and palace wahala. When the charms couldn't move the jewel, they turned to character assassination and emotional torture. The investigation then turned to the food incident. Baba Bambushe confessed that the spiritual essence of that food was meant to lock the great lion's heart so that he would only see what Ebony wanted him to see. He said the plan was to make the king feel disgusted by anyone else, especially the jewel, but something went wrong. The death of the palace, the ancient protection of the Ogunjaye lineage was too strong, and the plan backfired, leading to the public disgrace we all witnessed. Now, the Ibimo Abada are faced with a massive problem. If they punish Baba Bambushe, they must also punish the IFE elders who supported him. If they punish the elders, the administration of the kingdom might crumble. And what about Ebony? Her family is still pleading that she was deceived, but the evidence is showing she was a manager of the chaos.
The youth outside the palace are starting to hear whispers of what is happening inside, and they are demanding that the tree of confusion be uprooted immediately, no matter whose head falls with it. The great lion is still in his chamber, but the report says he has refused to eat or speak to anyone. He is realizing that the woman he shared his bed with might have been sharing his secrets with a native doctor. The pain is not just political, it is deeply personal and emotional. The trust has been shattered into 1,000,000 pieces.
The elders of the Igmunu and Tadia stood up as one, the heavy wrapper sweeping the floor with a sound like rushing water. The silence that followed was terrifying. They had had enough. They had seen the spiritual receipts of Baba Bambushe, and they had seen the desperate heart of Ebony's family. The decision they were about to make would either heal the palace or mark the beginning of a long, dark winter for the Ogunjaye lineage. The lead elder looked at Baba Bambushe and deterred. A man who sells his craft to destroy a crown has no place on the soil of Ife. But before the native doctor could speak, the elder turned his eyes toward the family of Ebony. And a woman who opens the back door for a thief cannot complain when her father's house is looted. This was the final blow. The council ruled that while Baba Bambushe was the hand that did the work, Ebony's ambition was the engine that drove it. The sentence was heavy. They ordered that the Idigbo Panle tree must be uprooted through a series of silent sanctions that would strip the spiritual power from Ebony's quarters. They declared that for the palace to have peace, the grit must be broken, and that meant Ebony would lose her spiritual standing among the queens. She would no longer be seen as a pillar of the palace, but as a guest whose time was fast running out. The council warned that if she tried to plant another tree of discord, the consequences would be more than just social media shame. It would be a total ancestral exile. As the news filtered out, the youth began to chant the name of the great lion, celebrating that the remote control has been smashed. The Ife elders who are named by Baba Bambushe are now hiding in shame, knowing that the Kabiesi now knows exactly who was trying to bend his throne. The jewel, when Naomi remains in her place of peace, her light having outlasted the darkness that was sent to consume her. The great lion has finally spoken, ordering a total cleansing of the palace grounds to ensure that no root of the Idigbo Kande tree remains. My crown gist friends and families, the lesson here is deep. You cannot build a throne on the foundation of manipulation and expect it to stand. The depth of the palace is being paid with the truth, and though it is painful, it is the only way for the kingdom to breathe again. Before we close this chapter, I must remind everyone that all the information I have shared today is based on rumors and alleged reports making the rounds on social media. None of these claims have been officially confirmed by the Palace of Ife or the Great Lion himself. These are unverified stories from the digital streets, and you should not take them as fact or use them to judge anyone's character. We are simply here to bring you the gist as it is being discussed by the public. The drama is far from over, and you can trust Crown Gist to stay on top of every development.